Progressive men showing their true colors. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. What's worse, men beating women or women writing about, talking about men beating women? The answer should be self-evident, but for progressive men in Canada today, it appears the answer is actually women writing about it or talking about it. That's right, we're back to the days of men telling women, don't talk about those beatings in the home. How on earth can I say that? Well, because several prominent men of the left, they took a stand. And it wasn't a stand for a woman who was beaten by her husband with a hockey stick, but took a stand against two women writing about this incident. I'm talking about a top advisor to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I'm talking about Trudeau's immigration minister, and I'm talking about a leading pollster and former CBC paid pundit. But let's back up before I detail how these foolish men were exposing what they really think. Let's talk about the issue that started this all. The man beating his wife with a hockey stick so badly she ended up in a hospital. Candace Malcolm wrote about this for her column in the Toronto Sun. Let me read you from the opening. Man who beat wife said he didn't know it was against the law. Read a recent headline in the New Brunswick Telegraph Journal. The man, Mohammed Refia, a Syrian refugee, didn't just beat his wife, he beat her with a hockey stick for half an hour. Refia told a Fredericton court that he didn't know it was a crime in Canada to beat your wife with a hockey stick for half an hour. Now, that's pretty shocking stuff, and you would think this might make national news at some point, but of course it didn't. Not at the time of the attack, not during the trial or the sentencing. Let me read a bit more from Candace's column. Following the attack, Refia's wife was taken to a local hospital and initially lied to protect her husband. She later revealed that he beat her with a hockey stick for half an hour, pulled her hair, hit her in the face, threatened to kill her. Refia was charged and pleaded guilty to assault causing bodily harm and uttering threats. He was sentenced to 8 days in jail and 1 year of probation. So a man beats his wife, sends her to the hospital, says he doesn't know it was against the law, actually tries to blame Canada for not informing him that you can't beat your wife with a hockey stick, and he gets 8 days in jail and 1 year probation. That is disgusting, is revolting. We should all be talking about this. But this story barely made headlines at all. We have news networks going live with breaking reports that a woman had a meltdown and was yelling she wanted to see a white doctor at a Mississauga clinic. That gets nonstop coverage. That deserves wall-to-wall coverage, but not this. In fact, let's not talk about it at all. But Candace Malcolm, former political staffer under Jason Kenney at the Immigration Department, a woman married to an Iraqi Kurd immigrant, she's not afraid to point these things out, even if it might lead to lefty men chastising her, calling her a racist even. So bravo to Candace. She writes the column. Then Kelly Leitch, Conservative MP, one-time leadership candidate of Canadian values fame, tweets about it. Here's her tweet. A battered wife and a bloodied hockey stick. That's the legacy of Trudeau's Syrian refugee program. And that is when the left lost their collectivist little minds on Twitter. There are plenty of deranged people out there screaming at Leitch and Malcolm for daring to raise the issue of a horrific crime. But let me share 3 prominent members of the left, all men, all with ties to the PM himself, Justin Trudeau. Jerry Butts is Trudeau's principal secretary. Immigration Minister Ahmed Hussein is his immigration minister. And of course, Bruce Anderson, the former CBCer from Peter's panel, chairman of Abacus Data, he's got a tie, and we'll get to that. All 3 of them show more outrage that 2 women have talked about this crime than the crime itself. Here's what Butts tweeted. If you thought this was a cynical act for the CPC leadership campaign, it's not. It's what she believes and whom she is. History won't be kind. That's it, Jerry. Forget about the woman sent to hospital, her husband lording over her, hitting her again and again with the hockey stick. You just get your own hit in on a woman, a political pot shot. That's far more important than standing against domestic violence and people that think it's okay to do this because they believe they could do it back home. Then there's our immigration minister. His comments are perhaps the worst. He found a moral equivalence between the attack and the tweet. Here's what he told the Globe. It's, being domestic violence, it's clearly something that we abhor and we condemn. What Miss Leitch is doing is equally reprehensible because she's tying a problem that exists everywhere in both refugee communities and in our society. Oh, I know words can hurt. I know the saying that the pen is mightier than the sword, but a tweet does not hurt as much as a hockey stick beating down on your head, on your arms, on your shoulders, over and over again for half an hour. A tweet does not put you in the hospital or lead to criminal charges in Canada, at least not yet. Finally, Bruce Anderson, he had a series of tweets chastising both Leach, Malcolm, and even calling on Postmedia to fire Malcolm. Here's the first tweet. Shame on you, Kelly Leach, for characterizing all refugees this way. She didn't do that. Neither did the article. Improve your reading skills, Bruce. Tweet 2. With so much hatred and violence today, hope at Postmedia News will think again before running opinion pieces that drive wedges. Violence. Are you talking the kind of violence that Mohammed Arefia inflicted on his wife, Bruce? Is that what you're talking about? Apparently not. He never raises that issue, but he does call for the woman who did raise the issue to be fired. Personally, I think Postmedia News should be done with Candace Malcolm. Andrew Scheer should ask Kelly Leach to leave his caucus. As Ezra pointed out in one of his own tweets, that's the daddy of Justin Trudeau's Director of Communications, calling for Postmedia to fire someone as the government considers a $350 million bailout for print media. Hint, hint. You know, I remember a time when progressive men would at least pretend to stand up for women and their ability to speak their own minds. I remember a time when progressive men were willing to denounce violence against women without finding some cheap moral equivalence. But the fact is, the poker game has changed, and the winning hand of yesteryear, it won't win anymore. Now these supposed gentlemen are more interested in protecting Justin Trudeau's refugee program from any possible criticism than worrying that a refugee woman had the crap beat out of her by her husband with a hockey stick. And if that means shaming a pair of women that dared to speak up about this man beating his wife with a hockey stick, then so be it. Because don't you dare talk about problems with Justin's program. Don't bring up uncomfortable issues or uncomfortable questions. They are essentially saying these women should shut up and mind their place. Well, knowing the pair of them, that isn't about to happen anytime soon. If you like the Rebel video you just watched, click here to subscribe. And if you've already subscribed to our main channel, make sure you subscribe to Rebel Canada. It's the place for all the news on Trudeau and company the other guys don't want to talk about.